What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to a model review. It's your host Ray. Today I'll be reviewing the Fuji Dream Airlines Embraer 175 in 1:400 scale made by JC Wings. I'm not exactly familiar with the whereabouts of this model and when it was released, so unfortunately I cannot provide any information about that at this time. This review will consist of a discussion of the box and its features, and then an analysis of the model's features, and at the end of the video I will give my personal opinion about what I think of the model and whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. So starting off with the box, this is going to be really short because the box isn't really anything special. It's 14 centimeters lengthwise, 14 centimeters tall, and about 4 centimeters wide. So it's pretty small, but still a little bit overkill for this model because this model is pretty tiny. I'll show you guys around the box. It's not really special. It's just the orange JC Wings box that I'm not sure why they do this, but I guess they do this for whatever reason. I really don't even know. However, the old adage, never judge a book by its cover, does really apply here. In this case, do not judge a model by its box. What's inside the box is what matters. And there's this little card here. It's made out of a sturdy plastic, almost like a usual credit or debit card or something you'd receive of that nature. It's pretty nice, actually. It displays the aircraft CGI. But on the backside, there's some specifications here in English about the airplane, so that's really nice. Now, here's the model itself. It's actually pretty tiny, and I'll show you guys a quick 360 around it. So the fuselage length is 8.1 centimeters, the wingspan is 7 centimeters, and it's about 2.5 centimeters tall from the ground to the tip of the tail. So it's accurate to 1:400 scale, and it's pretty tiny. Of course, it is a smaller aircraft. Alright, we'll start up the review at the front of the aircraft, starting with the nose. The nose section looks pretty solid. Nose shape, okay, that actually looks decent for once. Usually the nose shape on these Embraers from JC Wings and Gemini Jets, since they both use the same mold, they're not really the best, but JC Wings is a little bit better in terms of quality control, or significantly better, I should say. Here you can see a lot of printed detail up at the nose. You can even see the Embraer 175 title. That's a really nice feature. As we move down the aircraft, you can see more fuselage details. No complaints here. Windows look nice. You can see the Fuji Dream Airlines there, the title there. And we arrive at the rear. Here's the vertical stabilizer. This looks pretty good. Printed detail on here looks nice. Paint looks good, and no complaints here at all. The same can be said about the right side of the aircraft. It's essentially the same as the left side, so I won't provide much commentary or analysis on this part. Here are the wings, this is the left wing. The left wing, or just the wings on this model in general, are pretty nicely done. Decent amount of printed detail. There's two lines here, which I'm not very sure that those exist on most Embraer 175s, but I'm pretty sure they do exist on this one, which is why they're on there, obviously, which is pretty nice, looks good. Lots of molded detail for the control surfaces here as well. Looks good. On the right wing, you can actually see the aircraft's registration, which is pretty cool. Also looks good. On the bottom of the wings, you can't see very much, but on the bottom left wing, you can see the aircraft's registration again, as well as more molded detail. And on the bottom of the right wing, you can see the flag of Japan, which is also a nice feature. Here are the wingtips. The wingtips on this model, they're a little bit rounded. Here on the other Embraer 175s that I have, they usually have this little extension here at the end for the light, and that part for the light that goes on the rear here, but on this model they're not present, which is rather interesting. Instead, it's a more rounded edge here, which doesn't look the best, but I really can't complain too much about it either, because I mean this model is incredibly small, so it is kind of messed up, and here this side actually looks a little bit better, so at least they had got that part right. But it is really small, so I really won't harp too much on details like that. Moving to the rear of the aircraft again, here we can see the horizontal stabilizers as well as the APU. These look fine, no complaints here, not as much detail as expected. The APU looks good. There's a little... Oh, it's actually a hole here. This is actually a hole instead of painted or like black paint, which that's a really nice touch. Alright, for this section, I'm going to try my best to show you the engines. Here's what the engine fan blades look like, and of course, the engines themselves. These things are really small, and these are more prone to defects, so I wasn't very surprised when I noticed this engine was kind of bent ever so slightly down. Very, very hard to notice. It's a very small nitpick, but it is something that I noticed. However, I really don't hold much against it. It's normal for these kinds of models. Exhaust portion looks good, pylon looks good, and for some reason there is a little black splotch here on both pylons, so it does exist on the real aircraft. I'm not sure why that's there, but it looks cool. Right side engine, also, same can be said. This one has a bit better quality control. You can see it's more aligned. The exhaust portion is pointing slightly downwards, but it's not by anything much. Moving to the bottom of the aircraft, down here it's white. The fuselage is white, so you can see pretty much all of the printed detail, and it looks fabulous. There's a lot of printed detail down here, which that's something that's been constant on both JC Wings and Gemini Jet's Embraer models, or Embraer E170s, E175s, E1... You get the deal. It looks really nice overall. No complaints here. Here you can see the large antenna, which looks pretty good. It's very sharp, so be careful when you're handling the model. Don't poke yourself with it. I've done that a few times, and it's not a pleasant experience. Yeah, but aside from that, no complaints down here. We'll discuss the landing gear. The landing gear on this model, it's good. It's pretty good. I'll just say that. So the nose gear, of course, it's extremely small, so the wheel does not roll. I won't complain about that. It is the older style nose gear that is, for some reason, Gemini Jets and JC Wings did introduce a newer one, which collectors didn't really like because it just was pretty awful. But this is the older one, and it looks pretty good. It's very sturdy. Alignment, I think it's good. Yeah, alignment's good, so no complaints there. Main landing gear, they also look good, and this time, let me get my little pointer here. This time the wheels do roll. The wheels do roll really smoothly. The detail is nice. No complaints on anything here. Very nicely done overall. Alright, so here's the front of the aircraft. Here we will talk about gear balance and wing flex. Gear balance looks pretty good. There's no issues with the alignment of the landing gear, which is pretty impressive since these usually do have issues with that. And the wing flex, surprisingly enough, it's not that bad. It's actually still a little high. It shouldn't be that high. The wings are almost level with the ground on the real Embraer 175, but on this one they are pointed slightly up, so that is something I noticed, but it's nowhere near the other ones I've seen come from Gemini Jets mostly, because Gemini Jets and JC Wings do use the same mold as I said earlier, so these don't exactly have the best quality control when Gemini Jets uses it, but when JC Wings does it like this one, it does have noticeably better quality control. Aside from that, there's nothing else to complain about. The wing flex looks acceptable for both the main wings and the horizontal stabilizers. Gear balance is good. Cockpit window printing looks good. Engine clearance is nice. No complaints on any of those. Well, that concludes the review. Now time for my opinion and recommendation. So this model is pretty tiny. It does have a few issues here and there, but it's still well within acceptable margins in my opinion, so I do recommend it. The livery looks really nice, and I think JC Wings might have already made all of the other colors too, because Fuji Dream Airlines does that, where they have different colors in place of the blue here. Some of them are red, some of them are, I think I've seen yellow. I'm not exactly sure about all of that information, so if you want, you can do some research on your own. So I do recommend it to other collectors. It should be in stock in most places. It isn't that hard to find from what I know. And yeah, so if you want to get one, go for it. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you have anything you'd like to say, please drop that down below. Stay tuned for more Airplane Siren and hopefully in the future rocket content. And I'll see you guys in my next video.